gentlemen, I'd like to welcome you to the second debate for 7th hour speech class, second semester 2017-2018 school year. Let's give all of our debaters a round of applause. Woohoo! Yeah! All right, we would first like to welcome our Prime Minister, Wyatt to take the stand. And we would like to let you know that Miss Anna, wave to him, Anna, will be your timekeeper for today, right down in the front row. So everybody keep your eye on Anna. All righty, without further ado, Miss Timekeeper, are you ready?
Yep.
Fabulous. Mr. Speaker, whenever you're ready, you can go ahead.
Our topic for today is whether athletes should have a certain GPA standard to be able to have extracurricular activities. But before I say that, I would like to thank my partner, Wyatt, my opposition, the audience, the timekeeper, and the judge. Our first reason for why we think there should be a GPA standard is that most people might say that academics are more important than sports because the whole reason we're at the school is to learn rather than just to perform in a sport. And our second reason is most people might think that if you're already struggling in a school subject, it probably wouldn't be the best idea to add more to your schedule if you can't help keep your grade at a decent enough level. So it's basically just for you. We want to help you more. Our third point is our faculty believes that knowledge will actually help you get farther in life than athletics will. We know that some athletes in high school go on to be very good athletes in their sports today, but for the most part, most of us will probably rely on our knowledge that we learned in school and college rather than the athletic abilities that we have. And we also think that getting a better score on, say, the ACT would be better than getting a scholarship for a sport to a school. To review our main points, our first point was that most people might say that academics are more important than sports, such as getting better grades. Our second grade is if you're already struggling in a subject, it's not the best idea to just keep adding on to your schedule. And our third point is our faculty believes that knowledge will actually get you farther in life than a sport will. And I'd like to thank my partner, Wyatt, the opposition, the audience, the timekeeper, and the judge, and make sure you vote for government.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's give him a round of applause. And time, please, timekeeper?
2:14.
2:14. Thank you very much. Ms. Timekeeper, will you please put 1 minute on the clock for Harrison to prepare his arguments? Thank you. Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Timekeeper. All right, let's give a warm welcome to our first speaker for the opposition, Mr. Harrison, with a round of applause. Let's give him a round of applause. Thank you. All right, Mr. Speaker and Ms. Timekeeper, we'd like to remind you that this speech should not exceed 3 minutes. Ms. Timekeeper, are you ready?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Speaker, whenever you're ready, you can go ahead and begin.
I am Harrison Boynton, leader of the opposition, and today I would like to thank my partner Jada, the government for being here, the audience, judges, and also the timekeeper. The topic we will be covering today is, should athletes have a certain GPA standard to be eligible for a sport? The government's first point was that most people say that academics are more important. We addressed this point, but are not relatively sure how to approach it. So moving on to our second point, most people struggle, the government said that most people struggling adding sports may also hurt you. But this could possibly make you work harder to stay in that sport. And then the government stated for their third point that knowledge gets you farther than athletic abilities. But for some athletes, for some pro athletes, I think I'm not sure how to address that point. I am leader of the opposition, and our first point we were not sure how to address. Our second point was that people struggling in sports, this could struggling with homework could also cause the student to work harder in the classes to stay in this certain sport. And our third point was unidentified. I would like to thank the opposition, my partner, the audience, timekeeper, and judges, and vote for the opposition.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's give a round of applause. And time, please, timekeeper.
2:14.
I'm sorry?
2:14.
2:14. Thank you very much. All right, Ms. Timekeeper, will you please put 1 minute on the clock for Wyatt T. to prepare his arguments? Thank you very much. Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Timekeeper. All right, let's give YT a round of applause and welcome him as the second speaker for the government with a speech again that should not exceed 3 minutes this time. Ms. Timekeeper, are you ready?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Speaker, whenever you're ready, you can go ahead.
My name is Wyatt. I'm a member of the government. I would like to give thanks to my partner, the opposition, the audience, judges, and timekeeper. Today's topic is whether or not there should be a GPA level for sports. Now, our first main point was academics should be considered more important than athletics. Our second point was if you're struggling as a student, you may not want to add more to your schedule. The opposition looked at this and they said it could possibly make you work harder if you wanted to play more sports. But shouldn't you already be working hard to obtain this GPA already if this is your true sport and you wanted to play all the time? The third topic, or main point, was life is considered more important to knowledge rather than athletics. So, as you age, the athletics become less and less important, and you have to rely more on what you know to get farther in life. As a review, the first main point was academics are more important than athletics, and the second main point was if you're struggling as a student, you may not want to do more to add more to your schedule, otherwise your grades could get worse and worse. And life is more about knowledge rather than athletics. I would like to give thanks to my partner, Julian, the opposition, and the audience, judges, and timekeeper, and vote for government.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's give him a round of applause. And time, please, timekeeper.
1:29.
1:29, did you say? Okay, thank you. 1:29. Alrighty, Miss Timekeeper, will you please put 1 minute on the clock for Miss Jada to prepare her arguments? Thank you. Okay, thank you very much, Miss Timekeeper. Alrighty, let's give Jada a round of applause and welcome her as the second speaker of the opposition. Thank you, Miss Jada. Take your spot. Thank you. And we want to remind both Miss Speaker and Miss Timekeeper, again, this is a speech that should not exceed 3 minutes. Go ahead and you can move that or adjust, that's fine. There's a handle. There you go. Okay. All right, Miss Timekeeper, are you ready? Yep. All right, thank you. Miss Jada, whenever you're ready, Miss Speaker, you can go ahead and begin.
Okay, so I'd like to thank my partner Harrison, the government, and the judges, timekeeper, and audience for being here today. The debate topic for today is whether athletes should have a certain GPA to participate in extracurriculars. As the opposition, we are against this, and to restate the government's first point, they said, academics are more important than sports. We counter this by saying, not all athletes think academics are more important than sports. Some of them still think that sports may be more important, and they don't care that much for school. Our second point, the government's second point, was some students may be struggling and don't want to add more things to their busy schedule, like sports. But we counter this by saying some students maybe don't struggle in class. And even if they are struggling, they may work harder to keep their grade up in order to play the sport they like playing. The government's third point was, as you age, you have no more use for sports. And we counter this by saying, even professional athletes still profit from all of their past achievements playing their sport, because they still get paid and they still have quite a bit of money left over, so they don't have to work as much. And based off their background knowledge, even if they didn't finish high school. To recap, our points were, our first point was, not all athletes think academics are more important than their sport. And our second point was, it is possible that the athlete will work harder to keep their grades up so they can keep playing their sport. And our third point was, even retired athletes still benefit from the sport they played previously. And again, I'd like to thank my partner, the government, judges, timekeeper, and audience for being here today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's give her a round of applause. And time, please, Ms. Timekeeper. 2:19. Thank you very much. All right, will you please put 1 minute on the clock for Harrison to prepare his final comments for the opposition. Remember, Harrison, we're coming back to you. Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Timekeeper. All righty, let's give Harrison a round of applause and welcome him back for his last speech for the opposition. I'd like to remind both Ms. Timekeeper and Mr. Speaker that these speeches should not exceed only 2 minutes this time. All right, only 2 minutes, please. Ms. Timekeeper, are you ready?
Yep.
Okay, Mr. Speaker, whenever you're ready, you may begin.
I am Harrison Boynton, leader of the opposition, and I would like to thank my partner, the government, audience, judges, and the timekeeper. The topic that we talked about today is, should athletes have a GPA standard? Well, our first point was that some athletes may not think that academics are more important than other sports. Our second point would have been that struggling students may work harder in their fields due to the fact that they want to play their sport. And then our third point was that pro sports players could possibly be recruited despite their grade averages. I would like to thank a quick review. Our first point is some athletes may not take sports seriously. Second point was some athletes this may cause them to work harder. And our third point, pro sports players could be recruited despite their grades. And I would like to thank Jada, my partner, the government, the audience, judges, and timekeeper, and please vote for the opposition.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's give him a round of applause. And time, please, timekeeper.
129.
129, thank you very much. All right, 1 more minute, please, Ms. Timekeeper, on that clock for Wyatt Julian to prepare his final statements, please. Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Timekeeper. All right, we welcome our final speaker of this debate today, Mr. Wyatt Julian, to take the stand. Let's give him a round of applause. Yay. And we would like to remind both Ms. Timekeeper and Mr. Speaker that this speech should not exceed only 2 minutes in length this time. All right, Ms. Timekeeper, are you ready?
Yeah.
All righty, Mr. Speaker, whenever you're ready, you may begin.
My name is Wyatt Julian. I'm the Prime Minister of the government, and I would first like to thank my partner, Wyatt Todd, the opposition, the audience, the timekeeper, and the judge. Our topic for today is, should athletes have a GPA standard to participate in sports? Our first point was, most people might say that academics are more important than sports. Now, the opposition's counter to that was, if you're, the sport might actually motivate you to work harder in school. However, we think, or most people might think that if you're already struggling, you shouldn't be doing more, because if a sport is going to give you more motivation than actually doing your work, then maybe your motivation isn't coming from a good place. Our second point is, if you're already struggling, you shouldn't be doing more to take more of your schedule up. And they countered by saying you should already be working hard regardless. Or wait, they said you should be working harder because the sport will motivate you more, but you should already be working hard regardless of the sports to keep your GPA up. Our third point is, faculty believes knowledge will get you farther in life than athletics will. The opposition said not all athletes think school is important, And our defense to this is they may not think this, but the many people who have lived before them and know and have experience in this can tell them what to do. Thank you to my name is Wyatt Julian. I'm the Prime Minister. Thank you to my partner Wyatt, the opposition, the audience, the timekeeper, and the judges. Vote for government.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's give him a round of applause. And time, please, timekeeper.
148.
148. Thank you very much. All right, let's give a round of applause to all of our debaters today. You survived. It's all good. All right, thank you so much. All right, those of you who have finished, or I'm sorry, those of you who were